Whether it's bills, college, or rent, we all find ourselves short on money at some point. While cutting costs, we often find ourselves cutting out parts of a healthy lifestyle. One of the most common arguments against a healthy, sustainable diet is that it's expensive. But the truth is that with a little effort, it can actually be cheaper than an unhealthy, unsustainable diet. Gardening can greatly reduce the amount of money that you pay for fresh, sustainable produce. For example, store-bought greens are about $2 to $3 per pound. On the other hand, this packet of kale seeds costs $3.50 and can grow up to 640 feet of fully grown kale plants. Additionally, you can save seeds from plants that you grow, like with these home-harvested lettuce seeds from last summer, eliminating your need to purchase seeds in the coming years. So how can we grow on our own property? In order to grow as much food as possible, we need to maximize our growing space. Almost any property can be grown on, even if it needs the assistance of planters or box gardens for soil. Let's take a look at the property around my house as an example on how to grow around your own home. The first thing we're going to note is which areas have open ground to plant on. For example, the segments around my back patio, the side of my house, and my entire front yard. Secondly, we'll look at where we can have planters to grow on portions without open ground, such as my deck or back patio. Lastly, we'll look at which areas get sun. My backyard generally gets pretty sparse sun and is really shaded. On the other hand, the side of my house and my front yard receive pretty direct sunlight almost all day. This will give us a good indicator of what to grow, when, and where. My backyard can grow things like carrots, broccoli, some types of squash, as well as most greens. The front and side can have tomatoes, cucumbers, and peas, which will do especially well where I can have a trellis along the side. Now that we know where to plant, we just need to know when to plant it. Let's go through our growing season for northern temperate regions like in Wisconsin. For April through May, we can grow plants like asparagus, radishes, and greens like spinach and arugula. June is a pretty important growing month. Peas, beets, broccoli, cabbage, carrots, most greens, tomatoes, and also potatoes are all good during this month. July brings things like beans, eggplant, okra, onions, peppers, and summer squash. August through September, the beginning of the colder months, will bring things like lettuce, winter squash, Brussels sprouts, and rutabaga. And that's the end of our whole growing season. So what now? After the end of the growing season, you can still continue eating homegrown food by preserving it. So what can you preserve? Onions and potatoes tend to last pretty long on their own without any assistance, but for other plants, they don't preserve so well on their own. One of the methods that we can use is canning, and some of the plants that we can do this for are carrots, beans, peas, and winter squash. An additional method that we can use for preservation is freezing the produce. This can be done for plants that are like broccoli, cabbage, other greens and sprouts, artichokes, squash, carrots, beans, and eggplant. Unless you live in a sunny place with a very long growing season and no snow to stop it, it's nearly impossible to eat homegrown food all year round. Fortunately, you can still shop for your food in a cheap, sustainable fashion by eating in season. During the summer, buy foods like berries, melons, most kinds of fruit, kale, and zucchini. During the fall, buy things like carrots, beans, beets, leeks, spinach, and Brussels sprouts. During the winter, buy things like mushrooms, potatoes, turnips, sprouts, and onions. During the spring, buy things like herbs, mushrooms, potatoes, and parsnips. There are also cheap bulk foods that you can buy and also cook in healthy ways that are non-perishable. These include things like rice, beans, grains, and most kinds of pasta. Even if you can't turn your entire property into a fruitful garden or home cook all of your food, everyone can still implement at least some of these techniques to eat healthier and more sustainably without spending too much money.